if you don't know, Adrian, you are the program director, correct? Is that your title for?
Yes, I'm the co-director of the Etreum Horror Film Fest. It's a festival that has been running for over 5 years. 5 years. It takes place mainly in two countries, in Bogota, Colombia, and Buenos Aires, Argentina. That's where I am. And we have been growing since because, well, I think because we are the people that are involved in this festival, unlike other festivals, are fans of horror, sci-fi, fantasy. They come from different areas. I'm an economist. I work on marketing and other things actually. I produce different podcasts of different subjects like economy, international politics, etc. But I have I mean, I'm a my true passion, I would say, is horror, sci-fi, fantasy in all media. Since I was little, so 5 years ago, I started with this idea of doing the festival with my partner, and the other director from Colombia, Jorge Esteban Pardo. And then we start like in online, but then we start growing and growing, and people, because I think the problem with most festivals is they are more concerned of promoting themselves than the filmmaker. I mean, festivals, I think they exist for one reason, to promote indie filmmakers, but they don't do that because so we start, as I'm not a filmmaker or an artist or whatever, I just start like breaking all the rules because I didn't know how to organize a festival. So I start say, okay, let's do like screenings any time of the year. Okay, let's do the big event in June, but then we can still start showing all the films again. So we start doing that, and in Argentina now we have a lot of cities that they want us to show the films, the short films. Also, we do screenings in Toronto, smaller screenings, and in Spain and in Mexico. Like I say, we really try to promote all most of it. I mean, all the indie filmmakers we can. So because that's the whole idea, right? So and we get. I mean, that's what. So we have this skill, I would say, because as I told you, a lot of us working on different areas like marketing and other subjects related to. But at the same time, we have this passion of doing things, and we do whatever we want. So again, a lot of filmmakers are so get used to do this, all the dual festivals. You have to send it, and then we do. We start showing and promoting. I said, but I don't understand. Have you chose me? No, we just promoting your short film. Doesn't matter if it has been chosen or not yet, but we do it anyway because that's the whole idea. And thanks to that, we grow so much. And that's here in Buenos Aires, it's now a big event. So we invite all the directors, and also we integrate writers. That write sci-fi, horror. Also the comic community here in Argentina is very big. Las historietas, as you know, there are four schools of comics in the world: the Japanese manga, the French, Belge, bande dessinée, the comic from the States, the Anglo-Saxon and the States, and the Italian Argentinian, who was very strong during the 60s, 60s, and who a lot of authors in the US take inspiration. Actually, Frank Miller was in Rosario a long time ago, saying, yes, The Dark Knight, I took it from Muñoz. Muñoz, a very famous illustrator from Argentina. So yeah, if you start reading the comics of Argentina from the 60s and 70s, you'll say, wow. Well, so that's what the idea. So we integrate everything because we say yes to everything. That's what happened when you start being flexible and just doing out of passion and doing the best you can to do that, to promote. Sorry about my English is not good enough. If it's not good enough for this interview, I really I just learned it, using it. So
You're Adrian, you're great. Don't worry. You're fine. We're just trying to give you room to speak because usually Mark won't shut up.
Oh yeah.
oh, okay, don't worry.
No. So like, I'm just interested. Like, you started 5 years ago. So what was like the first festival or the first one that you actually got going? How did that feel, and how much work was it?
Well, the first edition actually was created by Jorge, who started as a online festival. I was juror in that festival because I was I had a site where I used to promote. I still promote a lot of indie filmmakers, and I help them to be more known, to reach wider audiences. And Jorge told me, "Hey, dude, I'm organizing this small, festival." Oh yeah. And after that, the first edition said, "Oh, we should do it like, physical, like in Buenos Aires and Bogota." Yeah, but because there are not two festivals that take place in many places. So we do a screening in Mexico, in Monterrey. And then the third year, they say, okay, let's do it bigger. So I called my friend here in Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is a very big city. It's like Mexico City. It's like a cosmopolitan city, like LA, like New York. I don't know if you know people that has been in Buenos Aires or Mexico. It's a very cultural city. So,
Right.
and there is a lot of funds for cultural activities. So thanks to the city of Buenos Aires, that now apparently they are, I don't know why especially they are active in supporting a lot of horror sci-fi. Yes, don't ask me why, but now there's that saying, yes, because 20 years the last 20 years, the support for culture was more like, especially in cinema, was like the idea to support this author boring cinema, but now things change, so they want to support, and they gave us a big place like the Cultural San Martin. It's a big place. Also, we have now doing screenings in the Gaumont Cinema. Is one of the most important cinema here, public in how you say, in Buenos Aires. Also, we do things in other cities, in Neuquén, that's the south. Actually, it's very funny because we organize in Neuquén. We screen the films, and then we contact the filmmakers. It doesn't matter if they're from New York or Australia, so that people can interact with them. It was very funny because in Neuquén, it's a city from the southern Argentina, and all these people are like seeing this film that is not available anywhere. Was, I remember, Cannibal Mukbang. And then we called April and Nate, and they were there, like watching this big, audience in a place called Neuquén that they didn't know about, to the south of Argentina. And even for the people, was like, wow. And we used to do that, and we continue doing that, even if it is a small or a big place. So, I mean, the other day I had an interview when they asked me what it feels like, what is the thing that makes you prouder of all this festival. And to be honest, what I really enjoy, and it makes me proud, is to organize these screenings, for example in the Cine Gaumont there, and then go and eat pizza with all the audience and the director. That's like a tradition here in Argentina. Calle Corrientes, the street Corrientes, it's like full of theaters and cinemas. It's a tradition. It's like Broadway, well, more or less like Broadway, like a lot of theater, cinema, and pizza places. So, actually, we get, for example, when we organized with Demian Rugna last month the screening of his third film, Maldito Sean. That's before Terrified and before When Evil Lurks. That's kind of an anthology. It's amazing. He also kills kids in that anthology. He has this thing about killing kids in his movies. And I think the more violent, death of a kid in a Damian Rugna film is in Maldito Sean. So we show there, and then we go eat pizza, and I send to all my friends around the world, in Europe, in the States, say, come to Buenos Aires. And that's the fun of it. I mean, really, that's To be honest, that's the only reason. I know now it's very big. The festival has grown a lot, but that's the only reason I do it. I mean, and to see films that nobody have seen yet. I mean, that's the I'm a my motive. I mean, that's what it drives me, right? Because I'm a fan. I have been a fan since I was 6. I was a trekker. I started like a sci-fi fan, and then I contact one of the script writers, Brandon Braga. Now he's juror in the festival, and he wants to come to Buenos Aires because Borges, the Jorge Luis Borges, was a great inspiration to write all the Star Trek scripts. So I'm trying to convince him to come to Buenos Aires. Say, we take you to eat pizza, empanadas, and Argentinian meat, whatever. Also, I contacted because again, people that come to Buenos Aires, a lot of people, directors can come say that they enjoy it for that reason. So in this way, and also in Bogota, the last year, it took place in a very important place called the Biblioteca Simón Bolívar. I lived in Bogota for 2 years. That's why I know the place. It's a very big place. So little by little, we're growing. But again, the idea is to get together because that's the whole point. I mean, to be honest, when I was a kid, I was kind of a geek, and I didn't have friends to go to the cinema, so I went alone. So, and now I create all these in a way. I always laugh about that to do that, to just to get together, because the horror, especially sci-fi horror community, it's very like not only loyal, but it's kind of a big family. I mean, I talk with friends I have a lot of friends in the US. Well, one of the jurors is Chuck, the movie guy. Yep. Chuck, Justin, Slasher Talk, all those guys. So he said, guys, you have to come to Buenos Aires. I mean, I wish we have some technology to teletransport ourselves so we can do something. I don't know, maybe in a couple of years. But what I'm saying is that's the whole point. Yes. I mean, and honestly, we probably will receive more films because some people send their films after the deadline, blah, blah. But we receive a very interesting films from many countries, like 35 countries, something like that.
Cool.
So
correct me if I'm wrong, Adrian, but you guys you also like the extreme films, right?
Yes, I mean, we come up with this idea of dividing the films in different categories, subgenres, because it's not fair for certain films to compete. For example, last year we created this horror comedy, right. And then we have like this bizarre, and then thriller, and then slasher, because I think it's better to compete in the same category. Because last year we have this film, The Coffee Table by Calle Casas, that it was difficult to compete to compare it with films like, I don't know, well, Cannibal Mukbang. They belong to the same family, but they are different. So we separated in different categories. Well, of course, sci-fi, fantasy. We try to, and that was a great idea because it gives the opportunity to the jurors to, to compare like more. And again, it's I think it's also we try to include as much as films we can in order because the idea also is to promote the filmmaker. Yeah. Again, this is like a fan. I work on the marketing campaign of many films that I love.
That's awesome.
One of them is Nocturna, the Night of the Great Man. Yep. You can find the shot, who's a masterpiece. Who, by the way, I remember it was 5 years ago. Was in the Scream Fest. And for some reason, and I blame the producers didn't want to show the film. I don't know why, because they were assholes. So I say to Gonzalo, the director, is a friend of mine. So I say, Gonzalo, this is a masterpiece. I'm the #1 fan of your film, and I know how to promote it because it deserves to be promoted because this is a master. So I worked so hard, and then I did the same with When Evil Lurks. I talked with every friend I had in the US. Go to see the film. Don't see Exorcist Believer. Go to see these films because I know Demian. I mean, he has been doing film for 20 years. 20 years, and after Terrified, he was going to retire because he was all broke, and he wasn't recognizing his own country. That's what happened.
Wow.
I'm saying no. I mean, I remember when I watched his first film in the 2007. That was The Last Getaway. Okay, low budget, and it was very, very low. But you can see the talent there, and I mean, I don't know if you see. I said this is Damien. You have a lot of talent. You are one of the best directors in the world. I said he wasn't. He didn't believe in himself. Actually, I remember he told me when he went to Korea in 2017. I think there was a lot of people asking for autograph and say, no, come on, I'm not so famous. I mean, he was like feeling like he didn't deserve that. So, but I mean, lucky for everyone on the horror community, when Evil Lurks come out, and now people know who Damien is. And I hope he can make a lot more films, because to be honest, he told me he has like 1,000 scripts in his house. So
wow.
So give him money to do the stuff. Come on.
I have a question. I have a question for you. Like, I think I like Terrified even a little bit more than When Evil Lurks, but I think they're both absolute modern classics. I almost feel that they could be in the same world, like just in different places. I don't know. Is that like whenever you talk to them? Is that something?
Actually, I asked Mian when we screened Maldito Sean. Well, he never thinks like that. I mean, because when I watched Maldito Sean, I thought that Maldito Sean was closer to When Evil Lurks. If you want to compare, I think Maldito Sean, I know the English title for that, is closer to When Evil Lurks. But he told me that he's just doing the films, and he just let people create the universe. He's a great world builder. And I don't know if you saw Sean Baker review the When Evil Lurks on Letterboxd. So, and I agree with him and with many more that now I think he's one of the best horror directors. And I know him. I know because he's a very humble person, by the way. But at the same time, he's very creative, and he has no limits. Right. I mean, has no limits. He's conscious about how to use different resources. I mean, if he has to be extreme, he will be extreme. But he's not going to be extreme if the story doesn't need to. He just have to. Right. So again, I wish I have more. Like millions. And he doesn't need that much money to do the films. I mean, When Evil Lurks cost $600K. Terrified was made with $300K. Well, Nocturna, if you ask me, was also $600K. The thing about filming in Argentina, you have a lot of talented people that know how to do amazing things for nothing. And there are big productions that they cost like 10 million, and they're pure garbage. So I don't understand the work anymore.
I think it has a lot to do with him. Sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think it has a lot to do with what you said. If you stay true to the story and just let it develop, it can be extreme or it can be a tame story. Yeah, and that's important, right? Because it comes through in the filmmaking. Anyway, Mark.
Also, you have to take into account that there's plenty of amazing indie horror in the US. Yes. Because I think that happened in every country, that people say, no, the movies of my country are amazing, are not good. The movies outside are amazing. A lot of things happen in Argentina, in the US, in Mexico, for some reason. But the truth is, in every country, there's a lot of geniuses working in the dark that people don't know. And one of the reasons I loved organizing this festival is that I have the chance to meet this. I mean, I don't know if you watch Cannibal Mukbang. I love that film. It was the director Amy Kuge. I mean, it's amazing. It's a very well done film, original. Of course, there's a lot of films that but
they're making a sequel of that, right?
I don't know. I have to ask Amy. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I might have heard somebody that we know, Mark, is going to be in the sequel. I have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure.
Really? But he...
our one of our previous guests. His name is Brad. I believe, mentioned that he was going to be in part of the second one.
Cannibal Mukbang too.
Yes.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, but what's so great about? Yep. Sorry.
I know. For me, it's amazing to discover that, and I know, and we have this conversation with Chuck and Justin because they say, "Oh no, yes, it's true, Korean, Australian." I think there are two problems in mainstream cinema. One, if you do a film for 100K, you have all freedom. But the problem is, if you do it for 10 millions, you don't have freedom. So that will limit it. That's the problem with mainstream cinema. And producers, especially big studios producers, I don't know if you have talked to some guy from Paramount or Warner, they hate cinema. They don't even like doing films. They just do it for the money. They are very stupid, narrowed mind people who they say the audience want this because we did a study, but they don't talk with real people, so they cannot know. So the gems, you will find it always in the indie circuit. Agreed. And also, even in the indie circuit, you find a lot of people that they want to do films, but they don't know how to do it, or they don't have enough knowledge. But you find people like Damien, but also like Amy Kuge, who are people that they really love so much what they do, especially a genre that they know it by heart, right? For example, Damien watched a lot of. I know that he watched a lot of Korean films. So okay, you are like learning from the best. I mean, now we have this film 1978 by Onetti brothers. That again, I mean, little by little in Argentina also people are starting to say, okay, even actors, they're starting to act in they want to be in horror films, because before, when Evil Lurks, actors were reluctant to go there, I don't know. But now I was talking with one of the actors of 1978, Santiago Rios, who was his first time in. They popped my cherry, he told me. So because he says, I mean, it was amazing experience for me. And the thing that has 1978, this film, is that the actors that play the villain, like the four people that torture, are very, very amazing actors. I mean, they're like mainstream actors in Argentina, especially Mario Alarcón and Portalú. Mario Alarcón is an 80-year-old guy who still is an actor. He's like one of the, big, I mean, well, in Nocturna you have Pepe Soriano. Pepe Soriano is and again, 90 years old. He's like one of the big names of Argentinian cinema. I mean, he has been in, doing theater since the 60s. I don't know. Again, and this film has these four actors. It was really. I mean, I really enjoy watching them being that character, because it was the first time for that. And of course, they are amazing actors. So if they have to play vicious villains, they know how to do it. I mean, especially Mario. Mario, well, he's a genius. And actually, when I met him after the Rojo Sangre screening, I say, Mario, you are such a nice guy. I said, because I saw you in the 1978. I said, he's the nicest guy on earth. Trust me. And he said, and you really love to play the villain. I say, yes.
Well, we talked to we've talked to a few different actors in some of the independent films, and they agree. Sometimes it's a lot more fun to play a villain.
Yeah. And well, Mario, he said, "Oh, I want to do more." I mean, really, I mean, he's 80 years old, but he really enjoys to be in this kind of films.
Yep.
So, and that's a good thing, especially here for young directors. Actually, here in Argentina, all horror has been indie. Always. There's no mainstream. When Evil Lurks, it was indie actually. Because again, there's no money, and the money is spent on this boring authorial festival film. But again, horror always was seen, and I think this happened in the U.S. and everywhere, as a lesser genre. And I don't agree. I mean, come on, if you want to tell, even if you want to, you can tell a great story, and at the same time move the audience, and at the same time say something about society. Look, George Romero, look, Carpenter. I mean, come on. And you can do it in a way that is not evident so people can enjoy the film at the same time say, okay, oh, I know, because I mean, come on, if you watch, there's a lot of sociological content in Carpenter's films. I mean,
Yes.
not only they live, but even the thing
Yep.
when I mean, everything. I mean, that's why I love it, because I'm a nerdy guy. I study economics and sociology. So for me, that's the kind of films I want to see. And that's cinema. Oh, sorry. I know I'm very talkative.
No, Adrian, because that's the thing, right? If especially with your festival and with filmmaking, your enthusiasm brings people in, and that's the great part about it, right? I mean, if you didn't love what you're doing, then people would not follow.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The best films are made by fans. Demian Rugna is a fan. Pablo, have you seen Pussycat by Pablo Pares?
I have not.
The guy that made Zombie Plague. It's a famous B movie from the 20 years ago. He has made 17 films, indie, all indie, and he works like with micro budget, like Pussycat, who's you can watch. It's an amazing slash comedy, horror comedy splatter that is on Screambox. It was made for 30K.
That's the one about the girl band, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I've not watched it yet, but I've watched the trailer for it. So
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I remember it's the kind of films to watch in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it in the Rojo Sangre, and it was full of people like cheering when someone was, there was a lot of blood. It was amazing. And this is the films that Pablo can make for nothing. And say, hey guys, you have someone that can do this for nothing. Let's do more films. And I always been like following also Pablo. Now I'm helping him to promote his new film, Dr. Cerebro, that was made for 2000. I mean, this is a guy who farts and make a film, but a good quality film. Because he does everything. He film editing. And again, Gonzalo Calzada, the guy from Nocturna, also, I mean, he's an amazing. I mean, sometimes I get angry with them. I say, you need to promote your films, goddammit. Right. So give me that. I'll do it. I mean, like, I really.
But it's your enthusiasm for the genre that really, I mean, I'm sure draws these people in, so that they buy into your excitement. So then they let you handle that sort of stuff, and I think that's great.
Well, yeah, now they do, but at the beginning, because the problem with filmmakers, especially the old school, is they are burnout. They are burnout, and they are scared, especially because you have to think that most of Argentinian directors, as Australian, as Colombian, they only think that the ecosystem of filmmaking is their own country. So the problem is they are scared to everything. So if I start promoting their film, say, no, the producer will get mad, or the sale agent will get mad or something like that. They're so scared that they are even scared to promote their own films. That's what happened. Now, lucky for me and for the fans and for them, because in the end, it's for them that I'm doing all this. That now they are letting me to do this, because otherwise I was doing like, come on, guy. I remember Nocturna was I was like crazy promoting that film, saying, guys, you have to watch it. I mean, it's Pepe Soriano, 90 years old, doing his best performance. I mean, have you watched Nocturna?
I have not seen it yet. Mark has.
So what I'll say about that movie is, I really enjoyed it, but I think it's a hard one to market, because there's like lots of, it's not easy to fit into one genre, right? There's
I mean, for me, it's a beautiful horror fantasy drama. It's a more like horror, because it has two sides: the point of view of the elders and the point of view of the ghosts. In a side B, that is was film using is an experimental film. This side B. So if you
I think he's frozen.
Oh, I thought it was just me. I thought I froze.
What I will say is, like, when you start spanning multiple genres, it's hard for a marketing department, like certainly a Hollywood one.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, there you are. Welcome back.
I have to disconnect that. No, I was saying that this is a whole experience, side A, side B. that's cinema, and it reminds me a lot to another one of my favorite films. It's Jacob's Ladder. In a
I
way,
love that
again,
movie.
Jacob's Ladder has these horror elements,
Yes.
but in the end, it's a drama. I end up crying at the end. So it's a drama dressed as a horror film. But Nocturna has less elements of horror, but it's the same thing. And the way how I think it's scary how aging is portrayed in that film. That's a true horror element,
Right.
not the ghost itself. And well, Pepe Soriano, what can I say about him? He's one of the best actors in the world. But again, and that's the thing. I mean, people should know about these films because there's a lot of heart there. I mean, I remember Gonzalo telling me he almost lost his mind during the shooting of the film.
Right.
It was so hard for him. He was so depressed after the shooting because all the problems he has in the production. Now, lucky for everyone, he's filming again in Mendoza, and I just write for a message said, let me handle the marketing of your film. God damn it! Don't do that. I'm angry now because to say, come on, and not work with the same producer. Come on, man. No, but really, again, we are talking about very talented people, and you can see in the cinematography, you can see in everything there. Right. So that's when I fell in love with the film. I really, fight for that film, and I really want that director to continue doing that. And again, you may. I have a podcast when I interview CEOs of companies, and I talk about marketing economics, and you see this, serious guy talking, and during the nights I'm kind of Batman, and I become this horror sci-fi crusader who promotes film. And it's very funny how these two words don't touch, right? Because
I mean, I don't know. I might have a book for you to check out if you want them to if you want those two worlds to touch.
So I'm familiar with like a number of the horror stuff that's coming out of kind of South America in general, but I'm not so familiar with recent sci-fi movies coming out. So are there any ones that you would recommend?
Well, yeah, I can recommend you. We have a sci-fi panel. I hope Brandon Braga can come to meet these directors. They're like sci-fi. It's a genre that has a lot, some, films. They're like classic films. There's one called The Sleepwalker by Fernando Spinner. The Sleepwalker by Fernando Spinner. I don't know. Again, this is the problem with Fernando. Fernando is an old school. He's like 70. So again, he never worries about promoting films. He's from the 97, and it's amazing. I mean, I recommend it to Brandon because he loves Borges and Julio Cortázar. I mean, in Argentina, we have a very strong sci-fi tradition. Not Jorge Luis Borges, it's amazing, right? One of the best in the world. Actually, well, Christopher Nolan based a lot of his films in the short stories of Borges. Well, even Brandon. So and that film, The Sleepwalker, was in a way using that elements of the sci-fi of Borges and Julio Cortázar, another sci-fi fantasy or magical realism, as some people call it. I don't agree, or sci-fi fantasy. The thing about the Borges and Julio Cortázar or the Argentinian or South American sci-fi, there's no difference between sci-fi and fantasy. Like dreams in Julio Cortázar and Borges are like doorways to parallel universe. So in a way, fantasy are sci-fi. They are like the lines are blurred. So I love that film. Now it's in 4K, The Sleepwalker, and also there's a film called Moebius about about the subway that disappears and ends up trapped in eternity. A very Borgian concept.
Right.
And there's also I'll send it to you. I have the link, and it's called by Fabian Forte, another director that is working nowadays. A sci-fi a film called The Corporation that is from 2012. the corporation, if before Black Mirror, the corporation start working with the dystopia genre, and it's about a man who hires a corporation to assign people to fulfill certain roles in his life. So his wife is an actress playing the role of his wife. His employees are here. So it's not like he doesn't know. I mean, it's not like the Truman Show. He knows the weirdest part. But if you think about it, rich people do that. They hire people like to. So in a way, it takes this idea beyond that. Very well written by Fabian Ford. I think it's his best film. And now I'm helping him also to. By the way, there's going to be soon. I'm talking with the guys from Screenbox and Shudder to see if we can put the new film by Fabian Ford. Fabian Ford is the assistant director of When Evil Lurks and Terrified, by the way.
Yep.
Okay.
Also. So Fabian made an anthology film with Nicanor Loretti and other filmmaker Luca Castello. It's an anthology film called Portraits of the Apocalypse, and it's with the same cast of When Evil Lurks.
Wow.
Ezequiel, Paula. Paula is the granny. She's very short, Yeah, you can see a photo with her like this. Everyone is there, and you can see it's like an anthology that tells different story in the same universe, and before a zombie apocalypse. But it's kind of interesting because the three directors have three different styles. Nicanor is more like a comedy noir. I mean, kind of a dark humor vibes. Luca is more serious, so it's very interesting. Portraits of Apocalypse. That's very. And I make you a list, and I send it by mail. More films.
That would be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So also, I think there's been a couple of notable movies from South America that really kind of made an impact, certainly in the U.S., like Trauma and Atros.
Yeah. Atros. Yeah, I know.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah, you can talk with Lex Ortega. Yeah, I know him. He is the nicest guy on the earth. Although Lucio, he's a weirdo anyway. No, yeah, Trauma and Atros. Yeah, no. I mean, the thing about those films, I'm the guy, the kind of I always like more like the Nocturna types of films.
Mm-hmm.
That's my. But I recognize they are very.
A lot of people think When Evil Lurks is very extreme, just for potentially that one scene with the dog.
Yeah.
That upset a lot of people here.
Yeah. I remember Damian told me in the screen, one of the screen here, say, really, that you think it's it's strong. I was very soft in this film.
Yeah. No, I think so. But whenever you look at even Terrifier 3, which was number 1 here, which is very extreme. So there's definitely an audience for that, as well as some of these more maybe sort of contemplative or thoughtful movies. But what I would say, like growing up in the 80s, as far as foreign movies, there are very few you actually got to see. But now they're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you got Parasite winning the Oscars on right now. I think there's definitely a bigger audience than there ever has been. Certainly for us, just English speaking.
No, actually, I was talking that with Chuck and all the Alex from Beyond the Void. I mean, they are horror fans, and they don't care which country is it. I mean, the true horror sci-fi fan wants to find the best of the best, and it's like in literature, you have to start, looking everywhere. So now in the US, there's a lot of people that say, okay, what else is there? Because there must be more than this. And that they're discovering there's definitely more. And the more they discover, wow, I mean, these Korean guys, they're crazy. The Australian also. The Australian, they don't, as Chuck said, they don't give a fuck. And I appreciate they don't give a fuck. Even the Mexican, I mean, well, the Del Toro, he always tells the true fathers of Mexican horror are Montezuma, Taboada. Are the masters of Del Toro. He always acknowledged that. I mean, you have to do Alucarda in the 70s, and these people were like, pariahs, like said, outcasts in the film in Mexico because of all these films, but because they took risks, even here in Argentina. Even Demian, Pablo, they were like the weirdos. Now, well, because they're receiving, but that's the true one. I mean, but the truth is, the weirdo community is bigger than you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
People want to see, and I want the artists to have freedom, because even if it fucks up, they need to try the new things.
Yep.
They need to take risks, right? It's very difficult to take risk when someone is telling you what to do and you cannot do, and that's what I really, and that's what's happening now. And there's a lot of commodities in cinema, like thanks to all the monopolies that Disney has, Netflix. I mean, there's a lot of people that are complaining, if it is all the same, we need something different. That's why When Evil Lurks works. No, because it's different. Demian had the freedom to do whatever he wanted. So if he'll beat the child, that's okay.
One of the things I love about like foreign, especially horror movies, is you get different countries' mythologies.
Yeah.
So you have all of these new ideas that are just presented to you you've never heard before. I mean, I remember watching Ringo for the first time. And, there's a lot of the Japanese mythology in there, and that leads on to more. Oh, that's really cool. So I think it's really interesting, and it's really eye-opening, to watch foreign movies. There's people that I know never. Oh, if there's subtitles, I don't want to watch it. I'm like,
come on. I mean,
I'm like, okay, but you're missing out.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I was one of those people, and funny enough, the first foreign film I ever watched was a comedy. It was Amelie, and that's a great film, right? But then after that, it was like, oh, I can actually enjoy this. So it sort of broke down a barrier for me.
No, actually, there's when people do a film here in Latin America and they want to show it in the American market, they say, oh, well, but they don't read subtitles. But lucky for everyone, that's changing, because again, it's also beautiful to hear. I always like to hear especially, for example, I love the dark fantasy in the Nordic countries. I mean, they do amazing things. They have, again, it's a cultural thing. The way the different subjects they analyze, and the stories. I mean, let's talk about the innocence. Let the Right One In, Border. I mean, these are amazing. I love that films. And again, they relate they are related to the mythology of those countries. I mean, and if you start reading also, for example, novels of literature in different countries, also has the same thing. So it's also in different media you see this, and that's what I really appreciate about that. And I don't know, have you watched 1978?
Not yet. I've seen the trailers and stuff, but I have not seen the film yet.
Well, I mean, for foreign people, because it happened, 1978 is a special date. We had a very brutal dictatorship here in Argentina. A lot of people were killed, like a lot, and tortured in, illegal torture centers. So what is interesting, how they use that context. So for a lot of people, it was like a way of, okay, what happened? Why 1978? So it allows to talk about certain things. Though it's a horror film, okay, but who are these four people? Why they do the? I mean, there's a context there, and it happened. Right. 1978 was the year that Argentina won the soccer, world champion in Argentina, and the whole championship was a cover for all these awful things happening. So of course you can do a drama like Missing, right? But I think it reached to more people if you do it as a horror film. And I really enjoy what they have done with the subject combining with other subjects.
So those are the other couple of aspects, right? I talked about mythology, but you also get history and culture, right? And it really, opens your eyes to different people in different places, and what they've gone through and what their history is, and I think it's it's a great learning tool as much as it is entertainment.
Well, I actually a teacher. I was contacted by a teacher. He wanted to invite me, and I always send. I asked Demian to go to the school. He will go. Actually, he's very active in promoting. Now a lot of indie artists. But he was thinking of using that in order to teach different subjects, because there's a lot. I mean, it's the best way of learning something. I mean, because it creates the curiosity. And if you want, also I can recommend you some film from Colombia. There's a film I love from Colombia. Sadly, the director passed away recently. It's from 2016. It's called, I think 16. I can't remember. The Squad, right? The Squad. It's a Colombian film, but there's a lot of name. But search The Squad. I don't know if 2013. It's from Colombia. I love that film because, again, it takes something from Colombia, the the militares, the guerrilla, the fighting, the military fighting the guerrilla, everything. But well, something happened out of the ordinary related to that, and the Squad in Spanish is El Páramo. El Páramo means like the mountain. Páramo is like a small mountain, where they find a base of guerrilleros, and when they go there, everyone is dead. They don't understand. There's a woman that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of this. Sorry, I'm just looking it up. I've heard of it.
Film.
Well, I haven't seen it.
It was when they told me that the director died. I didn't know. I talked to him, and suddenly he was dead. Apparently, he was sick. He had a long-term disease. That was a great loss, for horror and for horror in Colombia, because he was one of the first. Again.
Whoop! I think he froze again.
Yeah. Hey, it's been pretty good though overall,
dude. I love his enthusiasm. Like, he's so excited about all this. It's great. There he is.
No, I was saying, again, if you study history, you will find that Colombia had horror masters in the 70s. In our festival in Colombia, we had one of them, Pinilla, and Ospina. Ospina, well, died recently. They are very old people, but in the 70s, you watch the films. It's like a Montezuma in Mexico, like Alucarda saying, wow, man, I mean, this is good. This is like, wow, what... Why people don't know this film? I mean, Alucarda, he's crazy. Have you watched him, Alucarda from Mexico? No. Well, watch it. I mean, he was barely killed. He was like Pasolini, like he almost get killed for that film, because again, he's like an exploitation in a very religious country like Mexico. So
I feel like I need like a top 10 must-see movies that I haven't heard of from South America.
Because I'll try to give you at least sci-fi, horror, fantasy. Because you have here in Argentina a guy called Eliseo Subiela, who made films more like sci-fi, fantasy, surreal. That's another genre, but they're amazing films. There's one film I always recommend, and there's a very interesting story about that film because it has a rip-off called K-Pax. The film
really?
Men looking at the southwest is the name of the film, from the 90s. And it's a better version, more profound version of K-Pax. K-Pax is an okay film. Maybe wider audience. But the true philosophy, and there you see the Borgian inspiration, influences, or Bioy Casares, the other author, Argentinian author who inspired a lot of surreal films. If you see the series Lost, Sawyer is reading a book all the time. The title of the book is Adolfo Bioy Casares, The Invention of Borel, who, by the way, is about a guy who goes to an island and the people there don't exist. So that's as you can see, a lot of script writers in Hollywood read all these authors.
And I think, sorry, Jim, I think because with streaming now, there's just so much stuff out there. And as far as foreign movies, or even like US movies, like a lot of independent ones, you kind of accidentally just find it somewhere and just, oh, that's interesting, and watch it. Or there's some buzz about it, but there's probably hundreds more which are better, but you just don't. There's no point of reference other than maybe following a director or something that you like. But
I personally have started to really enjoy especially foreign horror and films in general, because they subvert expectations, whereas here they're a little more formulaic. Like you can tell beat for beat what's going to happen. But for instance, I saw this foreign film called Invoking Yell.
Yeah, I know the director. Yeah, and Chilean.
Yes, we talked to one of the writers, one of the gentlemen that helped write the film, and I told him that I was amazed at how unlikable he could write a character, because you don't like anybody in that film. At least I didn't, right? But then what they do to the one character that's sort of sympathetic is like, wow, this is insane. And I love that. That's one of the things I appreciated the most about it.
Well, actually, again, there's a lot of tradition. If you hear Demian talking about film writing, we do some small videos in Spanish, and he says that the idea how to subvert the expectations. And that's a very difficult thing. Korean, they do that very well. And I was, investigate about because I wanted to know, when there is a lot of good writing in the Korean cinema, what's the secret? And the secret is most of these directors and writers, they're very well read. I mean, like if you see the script writers that wrote, let's say Christopher Nolan, but the people that wrote Lost, they were reading all these authors. Say, what do you read to come up with this idea? So we do some live with Brandon to talk about sci-fi. I always joke because he's always taking notes. So I say, no, you have to read this, you have to read that, because then, I mean, if you want to produce something good, if you want to write something good, make an original film, you have to start watch and read a lot, and right. But this is if you are an artist. I consider myself a proactive fan, right? And I encourage everyone to do the same thing, because nowadays there's a lot of noise created by big companies. Now, if you have money, you can buy attention. So you can distract people, and people will think the only thing that exists is the garbage, the Disney, the formula, big budget, blah blah blah, and the other thing gets lost in the noise. So, as fans, promoter, whatever, marketing, whatever, we do that role, because again, I'm as a fan, I really admire. I have become friends with a lot of directors, and I end up. I end up knowing that they need me to promote their films, because again, if nobody sees it, they cannot new and say, I'm as a fan, I want you to do another film. So I help them to raise the money, I help them to promote the film. So come on, do more. I mean,
so
I how you say, I'm angry with them when they don't promote the films on their own. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
So Adrian, I will want to ask you about that, right? As far as in today's society, now obviously the big movie production companies put up billboards, flood like TV ads. But what I will say is, nowadays, even the smaller budget indies can just use social media for free, right? So there is a bit more of a leveling out, I think.
Not less. It was 15 years when the internet starts, when the social media starts. Now it's not, because all the big media has been bought by big corporations, and to get known, you depend on doing what's trendy, and also having a lot of money. So that was maybe 15 years ago, when the internet started on social media. But now you don't have a chance unless you have money, or unless you have someone like me fighting for that. But that's not enough. We need to create conscious. If you love something, don't say, "Oh, I love your film." If you love it, go and recommend it. Start moving and say, "How can I help you to do more? Be more proactive." Because again, I remember before before When You Are Lurks, I have a lot of friends say, "Oh, you know Demian Rugna? Wow!" They were talking they were talking about Demian like he was, I don't know, Guillermo del Toro or whatever, and it was this fat guy living in Aedo. I mean, I was laughing because for us it wasn't like famous. Here, nobody knew him. The same Cache Casas. He said, "You know that you're famous in the U.S. thanks to the coffee table." I say, "Really? Here, not even my mother knows me." So it happens, and that it's very, a lot of filmmakers are very depressed because of that. Because it's nice to be recognized in your own country, but it happens all the way around. So in this sense,
I'm sorry. I think rather than like talking about like advertising, it's more like word of mouth. With I watched Terrified just randomly. I was just scrolling through like Shudder or something. Oh, this sounds interesting. So I watch it, and then like I post about it, and then people will, oh, okay, maybe I'll see it too.
Well, not on your Facebook, Mark. Nobody listens to you.
But there is a grassroots element to like the openness of communication with like social media and stuff too, right?
I think a lot of that centers around what Adrian said earlier. It's a community, because we all are searching for that. So we tend to get a little more exposure than most.
I think the key here is to start, because if all fans like love a film and they start recommending, and then I told Pablo, say, if we want, we can organize crowdfunding, because he has a lot of fans, a lot of people want to see Pussycake too. I don't know. I would like to see it because it's a lot of fun. I mean, again, my taste in horror and sci-fi is very strange. I like different subgenres. I like films like Nocturna, but I love films like Pussycake, a horror comedy full of gore. I like extreme horror if it is well done. I think for every subgenre, there's a film that's.
I agree.
There's somebody that loves everything, right? And that's what we know. I mean, there's something for everybody.
I'm sorry. Here, it's like food. I can eat a very I know, like sushi, but at the same time I can eat a hot dog. They're different, but they're also always a good hot dog made by some person I know, or it depends on that. And for every genre, there is and there is something that really it's very important when you do any kind of art, is the love of the person doing that film. Because again, there's always going to be problems with the film, especially a film that's very hard to do, or novel or whatever, but you can see the love put in that. You can feel it, something that will never happen with a formula film, that is probably an AI wrote the script. You can tell that. I mean, I can tell whether a text is written by AI. You can tell, because again, if you want something original, you have to You have to ask a human being, not a machine.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's part of it, right? Is you can there's two different genres. We'll take just horror comedy, right? You can have horror comedy that's done really poorly, or you can have a low budget, really well done horror comedy, and it
Yeah.
comes across in the filmmaker's love of the genre.
Yeah. Example, well, a film that we have in Etreum, that it was in many festivals. It's called an Estonian film called Chainsaw Singing. My God, we have a great time watching that film in the Rojo Sangre. I
Yeah.
mean, imagine if the Chainsaw Massacre was a musical. It's amazing, that film. I mean, what the fuck? It's amazing. But again, it's very in the very low budget. It took to the people of that to make it like 10 years. I
Wow.
mean, post production, the
Mhm.
Estonian, right? I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I'm in contact with the directors. I mean, but it's so funny. I mean, the combination. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, who does that? Like a
Right.
musical, with the guy with the chains. I mean, it's amazing. I mean,
Well, Mark won't watch it. He hates musicals.
Yeah,
well,
I'm not a big fan of musicals.
I on the other
I'm
hand,
not
love
a
them.
fan.
well, you will become a fan after watching this, because if you know musicals, they have every.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, see, you mentioned musicals, and it's fine.
I personally love musicals, unless it's the Evil Dead musical. I did not like that one.
Well, actually, it's kind of an Evil Dead. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And that's it's really, again. So if the guys told me, "Can you help me to get another film?" Yes, because again, they're. I mean, the idea that these films are expensive. I mean, filmmaking is expensive. It's a snobbish idea. I mean, people. I say, well, I need 10 million to do the film. No, you don't, because there's a guy there who can do the same film for nothing.
Right.
So you have the problem. And the thing is, and this is, for example, Pablo Pares, the zombie play, Pussycat director. He explained it to me. I make films with three people, four people, because it's the only way of doing this kind of. The result is the same of 1 million. But what is the element that make the film that cost 1 or 10 millions expensive? There's a lot of guy hired to do small things.
Right.
I mean, that is not necessary, because it's kind of an industrial method, right? Where you have the guy who puts this and that and that. It can be one guy doing all the things. But the problem is, in mainstream cinema, they don't know how to do that.
Right.
So I mean, again, that's why Pablo cannot work with industrial cinema, because I do it by myself. He can shoot like 45 frames in, let's say, one day.
Right.
The average is 15 in the industry.
Right.
That's a lot. So what is wrong? Well, again, it's easier when when there is one guy taking the decision.
Right.
When there's a big production, there's 1,000 people doing this. There's one guy who opens the door. There's another guy who closes the door. So that's, again, if you can do films with low budget with the same quality as the big ones, but you have to do another method. And if you go to film school, you are fucked, because you will learn the expensive one.
Right.
A lot of filmmakers. Pablo Pares didn't go to film school. Even, I mean, Demian Rugna, they study other careers, right? So that's the problem. Film schools, not with any film guy that comes from a film school. They don't know how to do films with little money. I mean, they just don't. They don't this formula of having a DP and a. Come on, man, you just find another way. Especially now that the technology is more available, and that's, I think, that has to change the education, the education system in the filmmaking, sector.
And
It's all they're teaching something that's okay. Yes, if you do things like that, you will need $10 million, but You
And
really need it.
you look back to like the 70s and 80s, where you have like Larry Cohen. They do a lot of like guerrilla filmmaking, right? They didn't go for permits or whatever. They just
Yeah,
had a guy
no.
with a camera. Hey, let's run around like New York City and see if we can get away with it,
Yeah.
right? And I think that continues on. But I think you're right. There's a lot of like waste. A lot of people were talking about Godzilla -1, right?
Wow.
Which was a huge hit and is a big CGI type movie, but they made it for like basically pennies compared to
Yeah.
like the US versions of Godzilla. So, and it's much better and it's more
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
agreed.
Well, that's the reason is, and again, this is the economist speaking. Um, Most of the big budget films on Hollywood, they are used to do money laundering. That's the truth, because it doesn't make any sense to spend that much money. I know friends of mine that have worked for the some of the Marvel films, hired
Mm-hmm.
through agencies, and they are paid nothing to work like, I don't know, 24 hours per day
Yeah.
or something like that. They are exploded, and they have unrealistic deadlines. That's why they look like crap, because
It's
it's not about the film, it's about making money, and even but doing a lousy product. Because but because again, if you control the media, if you control the social media, you don't need to do something good. Look, the airlines, they are expensive,
Mhm.
and they have a lousy service, but they're a monopoly, so they can do whatever they want.
So yeah,
This is
yeah.
the same problem. So
Maybe maybe a good analogy is like the video game industry, right?
yeah, the
If
same thing.
right. They'll work those people to the bone for games which, if they actually ask gamers, they don't want, and they'll spend $1 billion on it.
Yeah.
Like,
Because it's a very lazy business model if you think about it. Because in the long run, what are you doing? Yes, I mean, you are cheating because you're offering a very lousy product, but as you control everything, you people don't. They don't know that all the good stuff exists. It's like they are eating shit because they think it's the only thing that exists, while there's a lot of good food out there, but they don't see it because, again, people, we live in the matrix. People live through the social media, the cell phone. So they get a lot of a lot of the information they receive depends on on the money. I mean, it's generated by the company that puts money on them. So they cannot, if you do an amazing, the best horror sci-fi film in the world, nobody will know about it. And so that's the problem here, and that's why, to create alternative, niche communities outside the mainstream, that's what will give up. It will generate like a parallel universe
mhm.
of these communities that they can, self finance and consume these kind of films or video game or whatever. And that's what's happening really, because I mean, the Disney, Netflix, I mean, of course you're always going to have this kind of indie but big production companies like A24, HBO, that they try to be different in
Right.
many, right? But again, in the end, in the long run, they always, end up being like the media, the big media, generic. It happens all the time. Why?
Mhm.
Because when the founders die, some assholes come, takes the company, and they are not the founders. It happens in any sector. So again, you always have to come back with the indie, the niche, if you like that. And there's a lot of demand.
Mhm.
Uh, but again, if people don't know that
Right.
something exists, they cannot love it because they don't know they exist. That's the big problem.
Exactly.
So
Right.
let's work so people can, know this film. And again, the festival has this purpose in a way.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's very good at it because I've been hearing about it, from Chuck or Colby or Ian, a whole bunch of people that I know from TikTok. and that's how I first heard about it. So I think what you're doing is great because you're not only furthering the indie community, but you're also being embraced by it,
Mm.
and that's great.
No, well, that's the idea. I mean, that's why I contact, because again, the problem is people, they don't know there are other people like them that they
Yep.
share the same passion, and the more they are, the more impulse we have. That's why I help each other. I help Chuck. I help Justin, and we help each other, and that. I mean, but you can apply this philosophy in every aspect of your life.
Yes.
It's work for others,
Mhm.
help others to become successful is
Yep.
the best way to become successful yourself. That's what
I
my
don't disagree. I don't disagree, and that's what Mark and I try and do with this podcast when we talk to either indie horror authors or indie filmmakers, because we just want to give them a voice. You know, even if we don't have a giant audience, there's somebody that's listening that's going to watch their work for the first time.
But you can also grow by helping others.
Oh, of
That's
course.
others, because again, it's all about that. Listen, if you want, when you publish the podcast, send me so I can do little clips and I put it everywhere so
Absolutely.
the people can know you. And if you want to interview filmmakers, let me know.
I I mean, well, you were kind enough to send Carl Redgen our way, and what a great guy. Like
Carl is a genius.
he was great to talk to,
He will
and his
become,
films were
he will
great.
become very famous. He's very talented.
He is
Trust.
very talented. I
Yeah.
was When we spoke to him, I told him, I said, you know, I watched two of your short films, and just the quality of the visual effects
Yep.
was stunning.
Yep.
Like, you don't see that in Hollywood where they're that well done.
No, trust me. I mean, I'm trying to introduce him to some people here in Argentina. Say, come to Argentina to film with Pablo and whatever, because it's cheaper
Yeah.
and you can do amazing stuff for nothing. I mean, here in Argentina, for example, a lot of the people that do the FX, practical effects, the guy who made the puppet in When Evil Lurks and Terrify is the same. His name is Marcos Berta. You can talk to him if you want. And he's unemployed right now.
Oh, wow.
So I'm introducing him to people in the US, and they cannot believe this guy because, again, now in Argentina we have a crisis, a political, economic crisis situation. So these people, they don't know what to do, and so I help them to work for other countries because they're very talented. And again, to sum up the situation in Argentina, we have a president who wants to make Argentina great again. So you see the problem. Again,
yes, I do, unfortunately.
It's almost a worldwide thing at this point.
Yeah, I think. Well, anyway, the thing is, these people are there. Actually, I talked to Carl and I started introducing him to people that make FX here or EFX or whatever, say, or composers. I myself, I written and produced two short films, mated. One with narrated by Gideon Buchard from Inglourious Basterds, and other by Christopher Soren Kelly, and an American actor that it's the protagonist of a film I love that's called Ink, I-N-K, by Jamie Winans. And again, it's about connecting. Well, Brandon say that I'm a connector, and maybe I am. Actually, it's funny enough. I as an economist, serious economist, I I I give courses of how to create real networking, like contact people.
Right.
That's one. And it's funny because I have been doing that since I don't know, since the 2010, like in companies, and for me it's something that came naturally, right? Into people. Is I always joke. I said my job is to talk to people because kind of what I do, right?
I mean, but you're good at it. You're very good at it, so that's not a bad thing. It is an art. Networking is an art form. Like, not everybody can speak to people.
Yeah.
So it's great that you share that with people, because I am terrible at it.
No, the biggest mistake that people make in a how you say, when you talk to someone, is people always approach when they need something.
Yes.
I approach to help people. So
Right.
what do you need? Okay,
Yep.
you need to talk. I'll help you with this. That's the approach. That's the approach you have to have in life for everything. In the long run, that's the thing. That's my philosophy, and that's something I have been doing. And I think I do it because I was taught by my, parents, my grandparents. I have two grandfathers. From one side, he was a small businessman who's very kind to people. He has a small shop, and he always he teach me that to be
Hmm.
generous with people, to help people, and he was
Mhm.
very. And the other one, he was a cop, and again, very honest. I know for a cop, I know they have this bad rep, but he was very honest, and
Yep.
he taught me to keep connected with people in the long run. I
Right.
remember he lived in Uruguay, and when he came to Argentina to visit us, he always have this. He started visiting every friend he had, like going and eat pizza, asado, meat, barbecue, Argentinian tradition, right? That also has to do with culture in Latin America. Uh, I
Mhm.
I've seen that in the United States, it's not so common
Hmm.
to have this, social gathering thing. In Argentina, it's very important, kind
Right.
of, because kind of we have some aspect of the Italian culture, together, get together, have
Hmm.
the expression is, oh, let's get together a tomar mate, comer facturas, eat. It's very important in Latin America in general, but in
Right.
Argentina, it's like, yes, el asado, the barbecue. That's a sacred here.
Right.
If you come to Argentina, we make an asado if you want. That's very important. We get together, we laugh, we watch films, we drink beer, whatever.
Yep. Mark.
And again, again, that's what I told Brian. I say, watch a film in Comont, and then we go to the pizzeria. Best pizza place is there. We
Yep.
go with the directors. We talk about films. Blah, blah, blah. That's what we do every time we screen in the Comont.
That's amazing. So did I see on your website though that you sometimes do showings in the States too?
Well, we have a friend of mine, a horror writer called Solomon Powell, who's organized a small screening in Iowa. And now we are talking to do some small screening of, like a sample of the last year short films that won in Philadelphia. But as I told to Chuck and the other guys, if they want to organize something there with the festival, be my guest. I say
Hmm.
yes to everything because I mean that's the whole idea.
Yeah,
If
that's interesting. Hmm.
you
I might
want
have to think. I might have to think about that for a little bit because I'm actually doing. I'm not posting as much as I used to on social media, but I do plan to travel more this year. So I'm gonna go to more of the horror conventions and that sort of stuff. So I'd be interested to see what that's what it takes to get involved in those.
actually when the idea of doing the festival come up, I say you just need to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. I've been learning things since I started. Like I say, okay, for example, now I have to deal with all the how you create an event, how to help people. I mean, you just start doing it and you find a way, and the
Yeah.
less you know the better, because people, for example, that study marketing, I didn't study marketing. I just start practicing and trying things since 2010 when I
Hmm.
start working in an agency. uh, but when you don't have this structure, you don't know what you cannot do, as I
Right.
said before. So you can do whatever you want. You can try new things. I mean, and that's the whole idea. Say, let's try things. There's always. I always said, if you have a will, there's a fucking way.
Yep.
That's a good way of putting it. I mean,
Very
just
true.
do it, but don't.
Whoop. My thought process, Mark, is I wonder if that would be something that we could introduce, like to Spooky or Spookala or something like that. Because I know Spooky has a film festival or film showings. I'm just curious.
Or
Just go and talk. The first step, go and talk.
Yep.
Get together and have a beer. That's the first step.
Yep.
Just talk. And also at a personal level, this is something I talk in these seminars. I get start making a habit to talk to people. Say, but what's the excuse? Let's say you watch a video of something talking about something. Let's say you read an article in a newspaper of someone. Just talk to the guy and say, I like your article. Just say that if you like the article, if you write the movie, if you that, whatever. Just break the ice in the most natural way. Because if you think about it, that's the way you met your friends.
Yeah,
you
that's
don't
true.
remember how you became friends to your friend, but trust me, it has to do with all these things I'm talking about.
Right.
Yep. And Jim's been much better about that than I have. I mean, certainly Jim's been able to get you on our show and a lot of other people in the industry. So, and we meet some people and we're like, well, we can refer you to these other people we met on the show. So, I think there's definitely networking there, which Jim's much better. I don't like people, so Jim likes people. So.
I wouldn't get carried away there, pal.
I
like certain people. I do. I like certain people. Like I love horror fans in general, whether you're a filmmaker or not, because we have something in common, and that gives us a springboard to have other conversations. And we've been very lucky with some of the people that we got. We've got to speak to Simon Bamford, who is an amazing human being, right? And he's just so much fun to talk to. And
I mean, actually, the horror film community, it's how you say, you can find really beautiful people, very very beautiful human beings. Right?
Yes.
Very.
So, some of the nicest people watch the most fucked up shit.
Trust me, they have the most fucked up sense of humor, but that's the fun of it. I mean, Calle Casos, the coffee table director, always send me messages talking about necrophilia. I know something at 3 a.m. in the morning. Well, Damian all the time send me these emojis like someone walking. I don't know. Yeah, they're crazy people, but they're really nice, the nicest people in the world. So, I mean, that's the kind of people you like to hang out with.
Yeah,
right.
And that's the fun of it, right? Yeah. So, Adrian, what do you want people to know about the Etreum Horror Film Festival that they may not know currently?
Well, if you want to, the deadline is now today. But if you want to send a short or feature film, contact us in our social media, Etreum Horror Film Fest. So maybe we can do it a waiver so that you can enter if you have a feature film or short film or of sci-fi, horrors, fantasy, animation, video clip. Just ask, so we'll see what we can do. It's going to be in June in Buenos Aires and Bogota. That in Buenos Aires we're going to do a big event and it's going to be a lot of fun. What else? We have an Instagram for each country. You can, if you are in Argentina or you're interested in coming to Argentina, it's etreumhorror.org, A-R-G, Argentina. And there's other from Colombia and from Toronto. I mean, in Canada, we do small screenings. Jaden Reese is there. It's a Canadian crazy guy who also is a filmmaker who organizes small screenings. And again, please, if you know some director, horror, sci-fi genius that need help, please let us know. So we'll see how we can help him. Her.
We might know a few.
Oh, Jim needs a lot of help, but it's mental help.
No, he's not wrong. I don't do anything about that. But
he's not wrong though.
I can recommend you a psychologist.
Well, I do want to say, Adrian, thank you so much for chatting with us today. This has been a blast. Like you're a wonderful human being, and I can't wait to see the movies that come out of Etreum this year. I'm very excited.
Yeah, but they're very interesting. There's one that I already watched. That's why I have the festival. Trust me. Have you watched the Basking film?
Yep.
Basking.
Hmm.
Yes.
Do you
Yep.
know Cannes has a new film? Cannes
No.
it's a new film.
Huh.
It's amazing. It's called
Interesting.
yes, it's amazing. It's called Sayara.
Yeah.
It's
Was that not already released? Or no? Am I
no,
thinking
I don't
of
know.
something else?
I don't think so, but it's amazing.
But they
That's
made
awesome.
he made
I
something else.
watched it. Yeah. It's really Cannes is a genius, and he
Yeah.
sent me some of the artwork of the Basking. So
That's
no,
awesome.
yeah, no, he's a fucked up. No, he's the nicest guy, but again, he's very another genius.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's an amazing. I Valkyrie Yell. I love that also that film.
Yes.
I love the film, and the short films we have been receiving. We receive a animated short film, but the guy, but the author, I can't remember his name of the Coward Dog. You know the animated series.
Courage the Cowardly Dog. Yeah.
Yeah, but that guy, yeah.
Wow.
Number, yeah. So we have a plenty animation. You have sci-fi, fantasy, and if you have talk to us, we really want like if to show your film, really.
That's
And
awesome.
the juror are going to be experts. Like Chuck is going to be juror, Ian and Justin have to talk. We will have to select the juror in this month. Brandon also. I'm asking also big names. So because also we want that the juror are like really people that love the genre.
Yes.
So they can say, okay, they can decide, I mean, that's the thing. And that's something a lot of filmmakers appreciate. For example, the sci-fi film that won last year is a German film called Jupiter. And the other one that also received an award was The Hyperborean. It's a Canadian film. The juror was Brannon, and the was and I know him. He's a fan, but now he's a showrunner also.
Right.
But he was very impressed, and also the filmmakers appreciate a lot that he was the juror, all right?
Yes.
Because it's good to have these kind of people, to get together and see the films, and I think that's really very comforting for a lot of filmmakers, right? The people that they are. I mean, because even if you don't want. These people love that and they will appreciate
right,
and that's the whole idea, the whole point.
And I think when you're in an environment like that, it's less about being judged and more about just being included, right? Because everybody just wants to be a part of it.
Yeah, and that's what we want to try to do. I mean, to include as much as we can. The other last year I remember we have so many films, and in the San Martin, in the place, it was a mess to put all the films in that place because it was not small, but there was it's a public place, but there's a lot of festivals involved. But well, now they take us more serious, so they will give us 2 cinemas, and we have also the big one. So yes, I mean, and again, I have a lot of friends in the States, in Australia, in Canada, Europe. I wish the technology of the teletransport is invented so they can to eat pizza, eat asado, eat empanadas, and drink mate.
That would be that's awesome, and I love that. I love that. Mark, anything you want to talk? Anything you want to say?
No, thank you very much. I will say, it's funny you brought up the coffee table, because I watched it this week, and it was one of those things, as I was saying, I just kind of heard on social media a little bit about it, saying, oh, it's like one of the most disturbing movies, but it's a comedy. And I absolutely loved it. It's got a very British dark sense of humor about it. It's like, you could almost put Mr. Bean, Mr. Bean, in the same place as the guy, and it's all about that ticking. Some it's going to be revealed, but everything that everybody's doing is so darkly funny, knowing what's happened, and it's just brilliant. I think it's brilliant.
That's you're the first person that's ever described that movie that way to me, because I actually have a friend in California who sent me a physical copy of the movie, and I have not watched it yet.
Oh, it's
Yeah, and it's not because I don't want to watch it. It's just I just haven't had time with the new job. But
I just didn't
you're
want
the
to
only
spoil it.
person that has not talked about how devoted to depicting grief it is.
It reminds me of like if you were, I don't even want to kind of say it, but it's got that sort of element from Hereditary about the social anxiety about something that's happened and somebody's trying to process it and run from it, but they can't.
Right.
But everybody keeps on kind of saying, "Oh, look at this," and holding up pictures, and it's just like darkly funny, but not from the character's point of view. But it's like almost absurdly funny, but it's also really disturbing, and it's that social. You're just it's unbearable towards the end. Like you don't it's going to have to finish at some point, and something's going to be revealed, but it's that building tension. Mixed with the comedy parts of it, the dark.
If you want to talk about culture, Spanish culture, indie culture, they have this need of use this dark humor. Why? Well, 40 years of a dictatorship, it makes people, creates the need of express themselves.
Right.
Remember, from the 50s to the 80s, Franco was in Spain. There was a lot of repression, sexual, repression. So what happened when, everything, you need to express that anger, that frustration. Again, it's like Hiroshima. You cannot understand Japanese culture without Hiroshima.
Right.
You cannot understand Spanish culture without 40 years of a dictatorship, a brutal regime. Again, or Argentina has its own things, or the state, everything. Every society has its trauma.
Agreed. Yeah, that's very true.
It's the beauty of it.
Well, the UK hasn't been too badly damaged, but we have after World War II, but
no. They have. Sometimes it's a more hidden thing. For example, from the Swedish people, they have a awful, alcoholism problem there. The British, they have suicide. I mean, there's always something. I mean, every society, and horror, sci-fi, fantasy, but especially horror, is a way to do this catharsis, right? To express it. It's necessary. Because if you start censor this form of art, then people will start, shooting each other. That's what censorship does. It represses people. Look, the Japanese; they're very repressed people, but not in their art.
Right.
That's why it's so fucked up, the art. But it's a good thing to express it through the art and not start killing people.
Right. That's true. Mark, we lost your audio.
Hi there.
Let's see.
It looks like your mic died because there's no light on it anymore.
No, but you can not use your... Well, anyway, yeah.
What were you saying, Mark?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know what part of it. No, but it's like a social safety valve horror.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you look at kind of Saulo or some of the Italian stuff, which was from Mussolini. Like, as you're saying, Franco, you look at even Pan's Labyrinth, which is obviously very.
Well, in a way, well, Guillermo is Mexican, but again, he's related to what happened in Spain. Also, well, Mexico has a lot of suffering there. There's a film that has a remake, U.S. remake as usual, but the original is from Mexico. It's called "This Is Us." This is who we are. That's the name of the film, Mexican film, about a family that in Mexico that is so poor that they start that the father becomes unemployed, so they start eating people.
Oh wow.
survive. But it's not like the He'll Have Eyes genre. No. It's more brutal because it deals with poverty.
Right.
So I think in Mexico, well, the insecurity that in Colombia during the 90s, the war, Pablo Escobar, it was a hell to live there.
Mm-hmm.
I know because I lived in Colombia and people told me about all the problems. And before the guerrilla, they have this war in the 50s, the Civil War.
Oh,
That
wow.
again, if you don't, I realize all this because I start watching movies, and then I start researching, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
What is the movie? I think it's Mexican. It's got Tiger in the.
Yeah, yes, vuelven. Yes, tigers are not afraid. It's out of
Yes. Because that's very bleak.
Yep.
um,
yeah.
and it's horror, but it's not horror. In my
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Yeah, that's one of the famous one. And now Isa Lopez is working in the U.S. She's famous now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that film. I really enjoyed it a lot because again, it deals with a social problem about a
Poverty.
very particular thing that happened in Mexico. I mean, and here in Argentina again, I mean, I can recommend you a lot of Argentinian horror films that you, and Shudder, watch a film. It's a very strange film, but it's if you really love something original and watch History of the Occult.
History
Okay.
of the occult. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Shudder.
Oh,
Any resemblance with Late Night with the Devil, it's pure coincidence. But again, it's nothing to do with that. It actually for me it's better. It is much better.
Yeah.
Again, it's so complex at the same time. It deals with a program or someone talking, blah blah blah, but it's completely different. And again, it happens in a parallel Argentinian universe in the past. It's an chronic, right? In the 82, but if Argentina had won the War of Malvinas, I mean, it's a crazy thing. Very well done, very Lovecraftian in many sense. Just watch it. I mean,
I will check that out for sure.
Christian
Oh,
Ponce.
that looks very interesting.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna end the live stream, guys. But we can continue to chat. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate it.